understand what black is, the source from which all things come, the security blanket for the stars, understand what black is. It's not a color, it's the basis of all colors. It is not a complexion, it is a reflection of all complexions called human. And out of this blackness, passion flows like a river. Feelings tell the truth. Song and dance and making you laugh are family members. Understand what black is. The breath you breathe, the sweat on your brow, the cheers and the tears balancing the world on your head. Faith is the glue.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH.
This is your blackness. Horror story of your souls drifting into the land of perversion. Black as love is a light shining on a path.
Harry, thanks so much, Harry. Again, we're working out this Zoom situation, and it's really a pleasure to be with Kaisha Velasquez for these next 45 minutes or so. Kaisha, good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see you, dear. We've been doing this for 5 years, and I'm really very appreciative of WNHH, but some people might be just seeing you for the first time or hearing about you for the first time. We know you're a celebrity here in the New Haven area, but again, our listeners are from across the globe. So Kaisha's been a lifelong resident of New Haven, and really has, and I can say this truthfully, has dedicated herself to really contributing to the welfare of her community. And it's her community, it's my community, it's our community, and she understands what that collective nature means. She holds two master's degrees from Post University and Walden University, and is working towards a doctorate, PhD in clinical psychology. And she's going to need all that skill set when she begins to counsel me. So Kaisha, learn as much as you can, because I'm going to be your number one hard ass, I'll say that expression, client. Prior to establishing her private practice, she was a significant contributor to, and this is where I kind of met her, her various organizations she's worked with in a variety of industries, including nonprofit, corporate, medical, and clinical therapy sectors. When we were chatting a little bit, she mentioned one of her earlier jobs when she was a young person. How old are you now, Kaisha? How old are you now?
I'm not going to tell you the exact age, but above 40.
Give or take. 40 going on 30. I like that. Her first job as a camp counselor at Farnham Neighborhood House, which is located in the Fairhaven area here in New Haven. And she mentions that it was like crystal clear to her at that point that her true passion was how to promote positive change among her community, among folks in her community, among and within. And on a personal level, she's, and I've seen this in action over the last 10 or so years. She serves as a professional mentor, as a friend mentor, as a female mentor, as just really a galactic person of caring and counselor to those that need the most help. And then lastly, she's established her own firm, which I really kind of appreciate, because we need people to be independent and also to provide a service where it's a reciprocal nature, KV training and consultation. And she's also joined Albertus Magnus College, which for those of you that aren't familiar with the New Haven area, which is a small college here in New Haven, but it really serves people that are in need, and they have a variety of curriculums that enable people to kind of come back to school after 10 or 15 or even 20 years after their high school years. So to be involved with that as adjunct professor teaching behavior modification at Albertus and their undergraduate psychology program really is a need. Kaisha, good morning.
Good morning, Tom.
Let's jump right in, because this is so important. And even this first kind of question that I might pose to you might take up 45 minutes, but I think we're just going to walk through, and people need to know that you're going to be with me and us on a frequent basis, maybe once a month, once every 4 or 5 weeks, and I appreciate that. But as a licensed therapist, what are you kind of seeing or observing in terms of the biggest problem during this? And to say crucial time is an understatement, but during this crucial time, what are you kind of seeing, perceiving, feeling as one of the biggest challenges or problems that's confronting us?
Well, Tom, thank you for that question. Well, I've been working in the field for approximately 15, 20 years, and what I'm seeing now is a higher rate of anxiety, um, ranging from extreme panic to just people who never experienced and exhibited anxiety before are anxious. But I also have seen some signs of depression and sadness and loneliness, loss of interest in things, confused on what to do because of this quarantine and because their life has turned upside down in a certain sense.
Hmm.
When there's a certain percentage of individuals that really like to live a life of routine and they have certain things that they like to do, like exercising at the gym or self-care activities like going to get like women going to get your hair done or nails done and men going to the barber shop on a weekly basis.
Hmm.
And since all that is shut down, people are a little bit lost and not knowing what to do and then feeling like restricted because
Hmm.
of it. And I also have experienced that family distancing happening. You know, there's family is a very important part of our community, people of color,
Hmm.
black and brown, and so now since we're not able to spend time with our families, like me, for instance, I used to go to Sunday dinners with my family, and now I can't do Sunday dinners. So that type of isolation is also causing some loneliness and feelings of loss
Hmm.
in general.
Hmm. Uh, Boy, you talked of, elaborate a little bit on that when you mentioned the again, you listened to the Tom Ficklin show, and Kaisha Velasquez is with us. Uh, she has a number of credentials behind her name, but she's licensed, she's professional, she counsels. You reference kind of indirectly if you're I believe if someone is, you've heard this word introvert and extrovert, so you kind of reference that about some of those dual challenges if you're consider yourself to be an introvert or an extrovert.
Yeah, so the difference is introverts like to be by themselves and don't need to socialize in as much as extroverts in order to be happy and have find enjoyment, but they still need socialization. So this is impacting them equally. And I think that there might be an assumption that it's not, but it is. Um, because there's only so many things you could do by yourself, really.
Mhm.
So but introverts tend to hold their feelings inside and not in a sense of suppressing them, but in a sense of they like to think and process what they're going to say before they say it. Extroverts are more reactive, spontaneous, um, outgoing, and extroverts actually gain a lot of their energy from other people,
Hmm. Hmm.
from socializing. So
Mhm.
extroverts are struggling probably even more because of the fact that we're not used to. I'm both.
Mhm.
It depends because I like being by myself too. But my extroverted side of myself really misses the socializing, going to dinner with friends or to my family's house or just going shopping
Mhm.
at the mall, or to the movies, honestly.
Sure. Let's talk a little bit about. We hadn't discussed this before, but just as you were chatting, sharing, Kaisha, your insights, it seems to me that your industry. When I say industry, I'm not making a judgment, but the helping professions are needed like more than ever before. How are things going business wise for you? I mean, you've had a track record in clients, but it seems to me that if you're a business owner, a student, if you're on the planet at the moment, you might need some assistance and help in terms of your mental exercise discipline.
Yes, because since I think everybody needs some type of support right now, whether it's through therapy or socializing in a group format online or on social media. But I believe that yes, everybody needs some type of support. I mean, for me specifically, I've always been busy. My practice has been open over a year now, and I've been busy the whole time. But the interesting thing is, I'm doing video therapy, I have around 75 patients currently. But now, as a licensed therapist, we have a lot of obstacles, new obstacles like doing video therapy versus in person, and some people not being as comfortable. And the interesting thing is, you would think that the younger generation really likes video, but they don't. They absolutely hate it, which is very interesting to me because they're always on their phones. But I would say that I've talked to some of my colleagues because I have a little network of independent, self-employed, private practice licensed therapists that we support each other. And basically, we're all very busy. We're all just trying to put our clients first
Mhm.
and fight with the insurance companies after, because there's a lot of rules and a lot of changes that's happened. And some insurance companies were not covering, mental health treatment.
Right.
State, state Medicaid, the Governor Lamont actually passed an order to make it an exception and actually allow for us to do telehealth video therapy with Medicaid
Good.
patients, which Medicaid is always an easier insurance company to deal with whenever
Mhm.
things like this happen, because they're very open to answering their phones and fixing any problems, and you know immediately when you enter the claim if it's a problem. But other insurance companies are denying our claims, and then we have to fight with them, and it could take anywhere from 30 to 90 days to get paid for a service that we provided. But me and my colleagues are making sure that doesn't disrupt the treatment that we're
Mhm.
providing
Mhm.
to our patients. The other thing I would say is that we've been creative. Like, I'm doing a group support session once a week, actually is later today, for an organization that is closed, but their employees are working from home.
Good
And the
point.
executive director has me doing a support group once a week for an hour. And I've had around 15, 18 staff members on it. And I'm just talking through their anxieties and teaching them different things they can do and specific strategies to use, which has been helpful. So we've had to try to be creative. It's
Yeah.
also teaching at Albertus. I'm teaching online, but the class was supposed to be in person, because these behavior
Yeah.
modifications do a lot of role playing and interactive activities. And it was a transition for the students and for me, because our syllabus and curricula was already created, mine's was, and we had to change the whole format. But I would say that a lot of the organizations and school systems have been very adaptable to the changes and understanding and giving breaks to students and providing support to teachers. As a professor, we want to provide the best quality education to our students. And
Yes.
I'll tell you, Albertus has been amazing. They check in with us every other day
Hmm.
through email. So, and giving us a lot of resources and tools to use.
Tremendous. Well, congratulations on being involved there. Can you listen to the Tom Ficklin show? And Kaisha Velasquez is with us and licensed. You're how many? So you have your master's and you have your, what's the actual acronym for your license?
I have an LPC, I'm a licensed professional counselor because my master's in psychology.
Tremendous. Share a little bit, Kaisha, about, I want you to elaborate. We think about when you reference the organizations, people working at home, even not just simple stress of not adjusting that. I love whatever organization reached out to you, just in terms of the showing the love toward your employees and still keeping people motivated and structured. I mean, that's a catchment area I hadn't even thought about.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's first off, it provides a sense of pride to the staff, and feeling valued and appreciated by the management team and director. I think that a lot more organizations should provide supports like that, because people are
Sure.
going through their own individual lives, and it's like your work life is clashing with your personal life.
Hmm.
And sometimes those boundaries can be very unclear and confusing, especially people who not only are working from home, but have kids who now are doing schoolwork at home. They
Right.
also have to be teachers and provide support to them, and creating even more boundaries in the home between work and personal. It has been very complicated. I've worked with most of my patients to create, like a schedule and a system within their home that fits what their needs are,
Hmm.
and making sure that they balance work, parenting and teaching their kids, and personally taking care of themselves too. Because I
Indeed.
think that self-care can get lost when you're stuck at home with family and doing a bunch of other things, or trying to just keep yourself busy.
Right, right. You feel pulled from so many directions. Just as you were talking there, my mind flashed back to, even if we didn't have this, what I'm calling this global crisis, and even a World War III, in terms of people being impacted and individuals actually infecting and invading others. I mean, when you think of that metaphor of us, that the enemy might be us at the moment. But it seems to me that we could have had this discussion, well, a discussion just about mental health, and people not understanding that the tightrope of living in the world, sometimes you can fall off, and how do you get back on. So maybe let's chat a little bit about there are these stereotypes about having mental health issues and stigmas, and people being reluctant to kind of chat about what kind of support system they might need, or even how to reach out to a support system. So us kind of like, just reflect on that this about just mental health in general, how crucial it was and is, even before now, our attention being drawn to these issues.
Well, interesting enough, before I even answer that question, I want to give
Okay.
you a little backstory about
Sure.
myself.
Okay.
So I grew up in New Haven, and I had a lot of traumatic experiences through my childhood and adulthood. And so I have PTSD personally, but I like to tell people that I'm on the other side of it because I've healed from all of my trauma. But it, when you, so I come, I'm going to answer you from a personal perspective and a professional one.
I appreciate
The
that.
importance of
Appreciate that.
mental health, because I grew up in a culture where you don't talk about your personal business with outsiders outside your family, because it's
Hmm.
not culturally acceptable. So you don't, so that's one. And then therapy comes with the stigma of that, oh, you're going to receive mental health treatment, you must be crazy. And that's not it. Mental health support and treatment varies. It ranges from low level, you're trying to just figure out your life, you in the direction you're going, what career you want to get into, or you have some life stressors, or there's grief and loss. You lost a loved one and it's really weighing on you. And other than that, you don't have any other mental health issues. My belief system around mental health is that it's purpose. So you walk through the door for one purpose, and once you either manage or get rid of, it depends what it is,
Hmm.
or both, you actually then move on. And I believe that mental health support should be like a revolving door. As you need it, you use it.
Hmm.
The problem is that if a person never received therapy, they they have a lot of unanswered questions or assumptions made about what mental health treatment is. And and there's people who have gone through it before that actually have not had a good experience. And I've worked with a lot of both. I've worked with a lot of first timers and a lot of people who've tried to find the right therapist and have not had success.
Hmm.
The old the old treatment style of mental health support was very kind of inquisitive, in a form of like interrogation talk therapy, we call it, which the therapist would ask, so how are you feeling today? And a lot of people are not comfortable with talking about their feelings right away.
Hmm.
So the newer, more innovative, kind of adaptable way of doing therapy is most newer therapists are integrated, where they have several different styles and techniques they use depending on the patient that they see. That's
Hmm.
my style, really, because sometimes you have to take a step back and not make it so clinical, so the
Hmm.
person's comfortable enough to open up about their feelings.
Hmm.
But the reality is that we all at one point in our lives go through life changes or stressors that would be helpful if you talk to someone about it. And it does not have to be forever. I've treated patients, individual, couple, families for 6 months, and then they were fine. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and then they didn't need me anymore because it was something specific they needed to learn to manage differently, um, or some anxiety about some big life change, like having a baby, which was causing a lot of stress on the relationship or on themselves. And they just need a little bit of support around that. I think that mental health support should be a partnership. It's not that a therapist is the almighty knowing and that we know all the answers to everything. Is that we're clinically trained and we actually understand how the brain works and emotions and thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and behavior. So we're able to guide our patients through a process where they get to know themselves so well that they can manage their emotions differently and control their thoughts. Because a lot of times when we're anxious, for instance, let's use anxiety, because
Sure.
anxiety is the biggest issue today in this crucial time in this pandemic with COVID-19. Um, sometimes you can start to have irrational thoughts like, oh my goodness, this pandemic is going to affect my whole family. I'm going to get sick. I might not make it. We'll never be able to get out of our house. We'll always be quarantined. This is going to be a new style of life. Or extreme anxiety, like I'm gonna lose my job, I'm not gonna have any money, I'm not gonna pay my bills, I'm not. So anxiety takes over, and it's a whole
Mm-hmm.
host of thoughts that continue to kind of weigh on you. And so in therapy, we teach our patients how to manage those thoughts, how to not let our thoughts control us,
Mm-hmm.
and how to minimize and de-escalate our feelings. Because another another form of expression right now is anger and irritability.
Anger and irritability.
Yeah, so so you go to the grocery store and people are easily angered or irritable. They're, arguing. There's a heightened sense um of stress. So people, the way they're expressing it is through anger. Anger is not a mental health illness or disorder. Anger is a symptom of anxiety or depression.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't understand it that way, but it's true. If you're angry, that means you have an underlying issue that may be some form of depression, sadness, or anxiety you're struggling with.
So it seems to me you reference a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's and I appreciate the way that you've been really well. You've been doing this for a few decades, but using the technical term, but then kind of explaining it as well. That's really key because some people get hung up on not knowing what these technical terms are. But we hear this term collective trauma, and I hear you talking about sometimes there can be a virus of anger. People can it could be contagious to share their unmet needs with others. Is there a reality there?
Absolutely, especially people of color, because we already are predisposed to a lot of traumatic experiences. Prior to this pandemic, I mean, we talk about income inequality, you know, educate not receiving quality education, not receiving access to resources, which is what is going on with the high rates of African Americans and Hispanics having tested positive and a higher rate of death with us with this pandemic, is because we don't have access to quality health care like
Mm-hmm.
everybody else. And it costs money every time you go. If you have private insurance, you have high copays and high deductibles. So just because you have a job doesn't mean that you have quality health care. It could mean
Mm-hmm.
you have a job, they provide health care, and you still have high rates of copays and deductibles that you have to pay. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're state Medicaid, you don't receive quality health care like everybody else, because doctors are not going to test you for everything if they don't have to. They're going to treat what they believe is going on in the moment and not do further testing, because the rate of reimbursement is not as big as private insurances. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of obstacles in that, but I do, as a when I talk about collective trauma, it's how we experience it together as a community. And we
Mm-hmm.
are experiencing it together right now as a community differently than other communities. So even if we think about Connecticut as a whole, and we look at where the virus is affecting more than other spaces, like, so there's higher rates in all the major cities.
Mm.
And so if you think about why, it's because we live closer to each other. There's a lot more people that live together. There's a lot more essential workers that are people
Mm-hmm.
of color,
Mm-hmm.
like frontline workers in restaurants and grocery stores, even UPS, the post office, which is
Mm-hmm.
they're still working. There's higher rates of people of color, African American and Hispanic. So I mean, as a collective community, we need to be supportive of each other, because I think this is a really hard time and it
Indeed.
can feel very lonely and isolating.
Mm. Mm. Keisha, talk a little bit about, if you would, and again, I realize this is public, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth. And
Mm-mm.
sometimes people accuse me of being judgmental, which is probably true. Uh, but how important is it in terms of trying to find or work with a therapist that's brown or black or has an ethnic kind of similarity or understanding of your plight?
But that's a good question. It's not that easy, honestly. There's not a lot of us out there, and so I worked for a group practice prior to having my private practice, and one of the major reasons I wanted to go on my own is because I wanted to provide a level of quality mental health support that sometimes gets lost in bigger clinics and practices.
Mm-hmm.
And but the only way I was willing to do it is if I was able to remove barriers for my patients, right? So one barrier is the limited amount of licensed therapists that are of color.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I created my own little network of other private practice
Mm-hmm.
therapists, because I wanted to make sure that I had a couple of black male licensed therapists that I could refer people to, Asian therapists, other Latino therapists that are all licensed, and African American women therapists. So there's not a lot of us, and I think it's because the way the system is set up. The system is set up that you have to get a certain level of education. Once you get that certain level of education, then you have to do a certain amount of hours in the field
Mm-hmm.
while being supervised by a licensed therapist. So somebody has to be willing to sign off on your paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, even once you finish that, then you have to take a state exam. And the state exam, in my opinion, and I don't care who hears this, is very biased.
Mm-hmm.
It is not it is not for people like me. And I would be candid. I didn't pass it the first time. And I think it's because I was thinking like a therapist, and a person of color. And I was thinking wrong. When I passed the test, it was because I thought I had to think about the test and the questions, like the answers from the book, not the reality of what I was seeing, because I was already doing therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's a lot of people of color who are unlicensed and provide therapeutic support. The problem with that is that when they're unlicensed, they cannot get credentialed with insurance companies and get paid by
Mm-hmm.
insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another barrier that I removed in my therapeutic practice, because I'm credentialed with all insurance companies.
Great.
The only one I'm still not is because there's a lot of red tape, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not a major one, it's a small one. So I think that, to answer your question, there's some of us out there, but there's not enough. There's definitely not enough.
Well, I certainly appreciate your taking the time, and you referenced that even later today, you have several engagements. And again, you're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show, and if you're just tuning in, don't be too sad if you missed the last 25 or so minutes. These shows are recorded, and Kaisha's been kind enough to try to find time in her busy schedule to kind of rejoin us every month or so. Isn't that right, Kaisha?
Yes.
All right. too much. If folks want to kind of reach out to you and kind of, because whoever's listening, certainly either yourself or your family members or someone at workplace might be interested in your services or kind of connecting with your network. What's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I mean, I have a Psychology Today profile under my name, Kaisha Velasquez, or I have my own website, kvtrainingandconsultation.com. Both have my office information, my email, and my cell phone.
Tremendous. So just repeat those again. This is like a telethon kind of thing.
No problem. I have a profile in Psychology Today under my name, Kaisha Velasquez, Kyisha Velasquez, two Z's, not an S, because people confuse that sometimes. And I have my own website, which is kvtrainingandconsultation.com. My email address and my phone number, you could send me a message or even send an appointment request right through my website.
Oh, great. So that expedites it. Let's jump, if we could, for the next 20 or so minutes on, well, I don't want to say solutions, but strategies for coping or strategies for kind of exercising your mental health, or just ways to reduce kind of these issues, that the devilment that's kind of goes through our mind. I'll tell you, for me personally, just getting up each morning for the last 2 weeks, it seems to me, well, here we are again. I went to sleep and I've had tremendous dreams, but now there's a different reality that I got to face. So I really appreciate this chance of talking to you, because it's therapeutic. But don't charge me too much for this conversation, by the way, because it's therapeutic for me. In terms of strategies moving forward, what should people try to do? I mean, certainly in terms of reaching out to your network, what can folks do from a health, exercise, mental health standpoint?
Well, I would. There's three major things I think that people can do. I mean, I have a whole list because I've been working with a lot of people around it. But one thing is stop looking at the news all day.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's not about doing, it's about stopping yourself from doing something, because that's causing more anxiety. Looking at the news, it's really sad all day. There's different channels talking about death, or on social media, there's nurses with videos. I mean, it's very sad, and you want to be informed. So I'm not saying don't look. My suggestion would be once a day, look at the news or at some information about what's going on with the virus. Once a day to be informed, not all day, because that's going to cause more anxiety. That's one thing. With that same thing on social media, screen your wall. If some of your friends are talking all the time about the virus, then remove them from your wall. Not keep them as your friend, but just so it won't be in your constant feed, and you can see other things, because there are other things going on besides that, and positive things too, and not just negative. So, and then put boundaries with your family and friends, that they don't talk to you about the virus all the time, like day in and day out. I mean, it's the more you talk about it, the more present it is, and the more present it is, the more anxious you're going to be about it, whether it's going to affect you directly or indirectly. And unfortunately, it's already hit most of us in a way where we know somebody who has been affected by it.
Yes.
So that's one. I would say to reduce the conversation overall, or watching of what's going on with the virus. It's one of the major strategies I've been telling people, and it has helped. I see about 60 to 75 patients a week personally, and 75% of my patients already had PTSD, and this has been triggering for them. So it's helped them a lot to not look at the news and put boundaries around conversating about it. The other major thing is, since life has changed so drastically, and there's certain routines and things that everybody has used to do, like going to the gym, going to breakfast with your friends, going to like a bar to socialize, going out to work. There's What I would say is you have to create some of those same routines at home. So you have to put in substitutes, temporary substitutes, while you're at home. So if you used to go to the gym 3 to 5 times a week, you need to put a workout schedule that's 3 to 5 times a week at home.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be the same, but it will help you the same.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be different, of course, but I mean, I have one patient who did a great job. She ended up moving her living room furniture and putting all exercise equipment, so her and her kids and her husband all work out together in the living room. So it's
Oh.
like a workout room.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to create a temporary substitute for the things that you normally would do in your day to day. Socializing, you can do a cocktail hour or a dinner with friends via Zoom. And even I personally did karaoke one
Well, I'll
time.
wait. I'll wait to get my invite, Kaisha. I don't think I've got my in. I don't think I've got my invite. But I'll wait. Patience is a virtue. Patience is a virtue. Okay, cocktail hour. Go to cocktail hour.
Funny, very funny. But you
Yeah.
have to be creative. So I even found a website that people could do karaoke with, and
Oh.
karaoke via Zoom. Um, some people like you could play. I think video with family members is very important, not just talking to them on the phone. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's important that if you did Sunday dinners or family get-togethers, that once every week or every other week or once a month, you do a video with all family.
Mm-hmm.
I have a patient who her family did breakfast for Easter
Oh,
via Zoom. So I thought that was nice. They had an Easter breakfast celebration.
right.
So you want to create similar routines that you did in the past when you were out doing
Mm-hmm.
normal things.
A few more. Come on, tease
So
me. You got me going. This is great.
yeah, so I mean, I think, and so let me think. So I'm gonna use you for an example. Did you have any routines or things you did normally that would actually that you're not doing anymore?
You're asking me.
Yeah.
Boy. See, the problem is that I've worked for home for the last 10 years, so I've become maybe more addictive to working at home. So I have to now turn off. The challenge for me is to get away from work since I've been working.
So
You've known
that's
me, you've known me over the years, and so I've always been a hard worker. But since I've been working, I've been in solitary confinement away for a long time. So now I have to realize I don't have to be on 24/7. I don't have to serve the need or pump out content as much as I used to, or
oh,
at
you
least
have to.
or at least take structured breaks, if you will.
Right. And that's what I would tell you is that you should set a schedule. So
Yes,
that's another thing that people have to do, a specific schedule where this is work time, and outside of that, there's no work.
yes, yes,
Because you're right, the lines, like I said earlier, lines will get blurred between um, your professional work time and your personal time, and especially if you're at home. But maybe you used to go get coffee.
yeah, and got
You
to get
know,
out more. Yeah, it's just
I used to
definitely.
go to get Starbucks all the time, and so I I've tried to create my own version of my Starbucks coffee. So I have a little frother and everything, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I pretend that it's Starbucks. That's what I do. But so I make coffee every morning. But for you, maybe doing something where when you actually take breaks, you go to your backyard.
Yes, 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 yes. And in terms of the backyard, let's jump into social distancing, and it's easy for people to find out where I live, so I'll be general in what I'm about to say. But my backyard abuts. There's another backyard that's that is adjoining mine, and there's been two episodes where the family and friends have gathered around an open fire pit um, for about an hour and a half. And I took a picture of the chair so you could see how close the chairs were. But they were certainly not practicing social distancing. It's only happened twice in the last 2 weeks. I'm hoping they've gotten the word that this is not good to do. But in terms of people understanding the importance of social distancing, here I've been smacked in the face, if you will, with because I consider myself to be a communicator and information gatherer, to see people not feel comfortable in expressing their freedom of expression by sitting so close to one another twice, and it's been different age groups, young people, et cetera. So what would you say about I mean, and not to be judgmental, but clearly there's some challenges that I see them not being able to abide by.
There absolutely are some challenges. People are not. I think, and the way to get rid of the challenge, it's hard for people to do social distancing if socializing has been a big part of their life. So the
Indeed.
first thing we have to do is stop calling it social distancing. We
Okay.
have to start calling it physical distancing.
Okay.
I think people still need to create a way to socialize and not necessarily distance from socializing.
Good
So
point.
you just have to create a new way to do it.
Good point.
But physical distancing is what needs to happen. And I think
Mhm.
that that's why it's a confusion. They're not going to social distance. I'm like, I know when I go outside. So I've been home about 4.5 weeks. I don't go outside. Um, I just decided to do that for myself. But what I do is once a week I run to my office to get my mail. And as I'm going through the streets, people are walking, talking to each other, no masks, no gloves, just, you know, and it's because that is healthy for them. That is what they need. Like it's healthy to interact socially and it's
Mhm.
healthy to have relationships. Life is about that. It's human nature to want to have healthy relationships. So
Yes.
so the problem is that we have to first start thinking about it differently to have physical distancing.
Mm.
So that way, if you call it that, then people will be like, "Ooh, nope, we have to be 6 feet away from each other."
Mhm.
Now, some people still will culturally won't care. They'll still want to hang out with each other, give each other hugs or whatever. That's their risk. It's more about if they want to do that, that's fine, but how do you respect other people's boundaries? So then
Indeed.
your decisions doesn't impact them in a negative way. So, and I think it's about boundaries. So,
Mm.
and I think it would be maybe even since your backyard is connected to theirs, put something, a barrier or something temporary. Just
I have definitely thought about it. I've definitely thought
just
about it.
temporary. It's like it could be a temporary solution just for something that stands up to break up the
Indeed.
space. They know that this is your space. They can't come over, and then give them a little message or something about it. Sorry, this is temporary, but I need to make sure that I have isolation or
That,
distance.
that's helpful. That's helpful. So that's, if you read about me in the papers, though, then you'll know that
I
if
hope not. I hope
you
not.
have to call it because, but at any rate, again, you're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show as we kind of wind up, Kaisha. We have another 5 minutes or so. And the last class, for folks to kind of reach out to you, find out what you're up to, connect with your network, even explore the possibility, because it seems to me as you were talking for these last 44 minutes or so, that the families, do you have families that you're working? I mean, just the fact that families might need to kind of reach out to you, that have a little person, the adult, the aunt or uncle, just a multi-generational kind of thing. The impact of that is just, I think, just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's interesting because what ends up happening is that so we leave home to go to work, and if we're being honest, some people run away from their problems by going to work. Like
Hmm.
I'll deal with my home stuff later.
Yes.
But now you have no choice but to be home most of the time. So now you have to face any kind of problems you may have in the family dynamics. If you have kids that really don't listen or they're hard-headed or they don't want to follow your instructions, now you're stuck in the house with them. What do you do? Um, I think that, and it also forces you to face yourself, like turn the mirror on yourself,
Mm.
do a self-reflection. Where am I in my life?
Hmm.
It's not always good for everybody because if you just work, work, work and avoid, really reflecting on some of your past trauma or past, hurtful experiences in relationships or loss of a loved one that
Mm.
you've been avoiding grieving over,
Hmm.
um, then this is the time that it's all going to come out. It's going to all come forward. So it's important that people own their feelings, really accept what they're feeling, and then learn to deal with it in a certain sense. I
Hmm.
also have a Facebook page, KV Training and Consultation, where I post strategies on how to reduce your anxiety or depression, how to have healthy relationships, how to forgive yourself, how to deal with trauma. I post articles all the time on that Facebook
Great.
page,
Great.
even if people were not comfortable reaching out. for help, because sometimes it's baby steps. People have to like first
Indeed.
accept that they might need some type of support. And the second is that then they could reach out and gather information for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is why I have a Profound Psychology Today and a website and a Facebook business page, just so if people want to learn more about me and how I think, or how my therapeutic process is, all that information is on there. So I mean, I think that it's important for people to put aside any family arguments, family grudges, put it aside. And we're living in a time right now where we need to be appreciative with who is a part of our life,
Mm-hmm.
and of our family members, even if we don't get along all the time,
Mm-hmm.
even if we're still mad at a parent or a child, put it aside for now and just enjoy each other through this time, laugh. You
Uh-huh.
know, I tell people that the biggest two strategies that immediately are the simplest for people to feel better from anxiety and depression is a healthy distraction. So, like watching a movie, listening to music, cooking, painting, drawing, or humor. So,
Mm-hmm.
like comedy, watching something funny, or saying jokes with each other or whatever. I think that those two strategies right there always work.
Mm-hmm. As we kind of
It does not get rid of things completely. I'm saying in the moment, if it's something you're struggling with, it can help in the moment temporarily until you can figure out the why behind it.
indeed, indeed. As we kind of conclude, Kaisha, talk about, if you would, because I love when we were kind of exchange information prior to going on the show this morning, that you lifted up the hopeful kind of thing in terms of once this pandemic is over, mental health. What kind of mental health discipline can we use even afterwards? And so, just the fact that you referenced, even after this is over, we still will need to work on how to become more loving toward one another.
Absolutely. Even more so. We have to be patient. I had this conversation with one of my clients the other day, and he was complaining about being in a grocery store and how rude some customer was. And
Mm-hmm.
I told him, you need to be patient, because that customer probably was having a very stressful time, and that's how he was expressing himself. And we are living through a serious health pandemic. And then my patient goes, "Oh, you're right. I didn't even think about it like that." So I
Mm-hmm.
think it's just being conscientious about what everybody may be going through and not jump into conclusions or assumptions. The
Mm-hmm.
other thing is, don't wait until this is over to start planning for after.
Mm-hmm.
So start reflecting on things that you may want to do when we're out of the quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe goals that you always wanted to accomplish that you weren't able to work on. Start setting some things up for yourself, doing the research, figuring out if you want to go back to school, if you want to change careers, if you want to start a new eating habits, or if you want to learn dancing lessons or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's what I would say to you, there's a lot of innovative things going on right now. I know Planet Fitness and The Edge both upload daily workouts on their Facebook
Oh,
pages
that's
for
good to know.
free.
Yes, yes,
For
yes.
free, so people can go on there and do workouts.
Mm-hmm.
I know Elisa's House of Salsa has dance lessons for $5
Mm-hmm.
donations on their Facebook page. Um, and so I would say to you that look for things that are out there. There's online book clubs that exist.
That's
If you
right.
want to read, maybe there's you want to learn more about your own history and your own culture. Take
Mm-hmm.
advantage while you're in the quarantine to prepare yourself for when after you start doing things different, or doing things the same and even better,
Yes,
because some of us were doing things that we wanted to do.
indeed, boy. And you mentioned there's a karaoke thing online.
Yes, there is.
Oh, okay, I got it. All right, we got to try that. We have about 30 seconds. Any last words? And I'm just so glad you had the time to chat with us. And we kind of, I think we shared some good information. You shared some good information, and we're going to kind of do it again maybe 4 or 5 weeks or so. But any last words or thoughts or comments that you'd like to leave before we conclude?
Yeah, I would say be kind to one another and be safe. That's all I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Say it again, then it's worth repeating.
Be kind to one another and be safe.
And if a person feels that they're being challenged to be kind or to be safe, what kind of thought should they program themselves for? What kind of thoughts can precede being kind and being safe? If you feel that you're having difficulty doing that, what should you tell yourself?
Well, most people are having difficulty with that right now because
Indeed.
We are reacting off the stress that we're experiencing. So I would say count to 5 in your head before you respond to somebody.
Indeed. I mean, literally count to 5 in your head. I mean, literally.
Absolutely.
Go through that. And so that might sound strange or idiotic or just or why I'm an adult, but you're right. These are the mind can really play tricks on you. So sometimes you really have to kind of take hold of it. Kaisha, thank you so much for being with us, and I'm just very deeply appreciative of us being able to do this.
No, thank you, Tom, and I look forward to our next conversation.
Excellent.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah, this is my road. Let's camera action, I'm ready to go. Way too long, we faced them storms. Now you gon' face the dawn you waited for. I said from night to dawn, I right my wrongs alone. In competition with warnings, ice galore. Now I'm running toward them highlights, I'm finished being a quitter. But little by little, they joking, telling some riddles. Now I'm in my section, ain't willing to give up. Know you getting knocked down, but you gotta get up. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up. Fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Yeah, this is my road. Let's camera action,